Very wise, little ones. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Murgo's Beard.
On January 22nd, 2026, Xbox had a developer direct containing Fable. I could talk for hours about what we were shown, but that's not why you're here. You're here to see what you couldn't see by yourself. You're here to follow me into Murgo's magical mirror and have your sanity tested. You are here to find out just how many grapes are on Ralph's table. Why? Because seemingly pointless information is vital to cracking the code on Playground's silver chest of secrets. So I'm going to limit my personal thoughts on the showcase unless I feel it's absolutely necessary to what I'm showing on screen. If you'd like a lighter, talky video, leave a comment, pay the small price of one like, and well, one might just pop up. I will say though, our good old quest director Justin had me in stitches here.
And some choices that will actually change the landscape of Albion for the rest of your game. We call this idea, Your Choices Change the World.
I think what he meant to say was Tralbion's mogrification, but indeed, regurgitating your own words works just as well. Small warning, I'm going to assume you've all seen my original breakdowns, and will reference them naturally and without remorse. If, for some unknown and quite frankly inadequate reason you haven't, pause here, check the description, open 3 new tabs, and enjoy those first with a lovely brew and a pack of hobnobs. Welcome back. By the way, I am aware of concept art that was found just before the showcase, and I'll reference it when required. The whole segment from start to finish was approximately 12 minutes long, but only half of that was actually spent in-game, not including whatever is being shown on the screens in the background, which there are a lot of, 92 actually, give or take a few duplicates. Please feel free to waste your life and double check that number, or you can just sit there quietly and eat the truth pies I throw at you. I'll touch on those screens a little later, but I want to hurry up and get into the actual breakdown. I like to call this idea, getting into the actual breakdown. Isn't that right, Justin? And so,
let's do it.
Let's get acquainted with Team Playground first. We have General Manager and Game Director Ralph Fulton, Associate Game Directors Craig Littler and Will Kennedy, Producer Rachel Hardy, Art Director Connor Cross, Lead UI Artist Taylor Buck, aforementioned Quest Director Justin Schramm, and finally Cinematics Director Mark Tan. We should remember these names, so we can later determine who has spoken the most truths and who is the rightful heir to House Molyneux. Our characters next, or should I say characters. And they're doing exactly what I expected. Multiple preset heads with no deep facial customization. I suspected they'd go this route to allow for clean facial animations and potential appearance morphing, though it seems morphing itself didn't make the cut. More on that later perhaps. The face I've been referring to as our character appears first as expected, and we even get a child version, or at least a rear view shot. She reappears at the end in what looks like possible cover art, albeit with a different hairstyle, a feature Sir Cross confirms here.
And customize your clothing, hair, skin tone, tattoos, and scars, so the hero you play represents you.
There is another variant walking around with the cover hairstyle, but due to the lack of clear facial shots, let's do the sensible thing and lump these together as the same character. Simple. From here on, we'll upgrade her title from our character to our cover character. Next up, the male variant. And who expected that, eh? Yes, well, everyone should have. As I said before, this was a given. There was never any doubt. There has, however, been a lot of chatter about the animations, with some claiming the cover character was forced upon us and that a male option only appeared after the delay. Video evidence suggests at least this isn't the case. When comparing animations side by side, all player characters shown in the developer direct use the same walk cycle. This differs, however, to the Humphrey trailer, which, by the way, was released before the delay. To me, that suggests animation set selection and/or dynamically changing animations. We've already seen dynamic animation switching with the fireball hand change, so conflicting trailers alone prove nothing. Until Playground clarify, no firm conclusions can be drawn. And if I'm wrong, we'll have Murgo eat his hat. Anyway, moving on. This character shall henceforth be known as Male Option 1. The final player character appears wearing leather adventuring gear, the same outfit used in all of the combat scenes. The hairstyle is slightly different, and the rich twat version also looks a little different too, but again, due to the lack of clean frontal shots, let's just assume it's the same bloke, and thus he shall be referred to as
Ezio Auditore de Briar Hill.
There are more than 1,000 of them, and every single one is unique. Each of them has a name, a role, a daily routine, and their own personality.
In one of the craziest YouTube plays you'll ever witness firsthand, I released a separate integral video before this one, in which I count and label every single unique living population shown in the direct. That segment was originally supposed to go right here, but spoiler alert, it's 15 bloody minutes long. I ran the mental simulation and realized only the truly ascended heroes would still be here by the end of it. So instead, here's a link to that exact video. I can do that now, I unlocked that feature. For the optimal viewing experience, go watch that now, and then return here. However, I've made it a completely separate entity, so it stands on its own, perfectly fine for post-viewing too. You can pause here and watch, or I'm going to tell you the total number of NPCs in 3, 2, 1. There was 46 NPCs from the trailers that I'm comfortable calling unique. They're flashing up on screen right now. Feel free to pause and study them if you've chosen not to watch me manually counting them like a deranged Albion tax collector. Now, 46 is a lot less than 1,000, and the sheer amount of reoccurrence tells me that this direct build is absolutely not representative of the final version we'll play. As I've said in every breakdown so far, Playground are feeding us just enough to keep us alive. If there really are 1,000 fully voiced, personality-driven reactive NPCs, that's madness, and very, very exciting. This is clearly Bowerstone, unless they decide to change the name.
We can't wait to welcome you back to Albion's iconic capital city, Bowerstone.
We get a perfect view of Fairfax Castle.
Home to Fairfax Castle.
Now, this is slightly interesting from a lore point because Fairfax Castle is only named so after Lucian Fairfax's family, meaning that either the Fairfax family are the rulers of Playgrounds Albion 2, or they, like me, think Fable 2 is the greatest creation in the universe and plagiarism is an art form. Whatever the case, it's points for me. London Bridge will henceforth be known as Old Town, and it looks like we'll have to go through Old Town to get to the Heroes Guild. We also got verbal confirmation that Humphrey is the Guildmaster, although that was rather self-explanatory. 2 districts of Bowerstone are identified, the first being Butterfield Market, and this is the same area we've been getting views of for every other trailer to date. We get multiple walkthroughs in Butterfield Market, which include a minimap. By periodically screenshotting and stitching the minimaps together, we can start to decipher the area's full map layout. Using this method, we can not only place the previous trailers in their correct locations and outline their view direction, but also roughly determine the geographical placement of Fairfax Castle. The next area is Bowerminster, or Noble Breeding Grounds, as seen by our humongous overly cluttered house and 4 spoiled offspring. Not a lot of minimap goodness here, but we can get a small segment and place it logically between Butterfield and Fairfax. And so here is our preliminary, outrageously incomplete map of Bowerstone in its entirety. Let's see how much more we get before the game releases. This shot is an unknown, however the signpost here reads Docks, something like Copperfield, and maybe this back one says Bowerminster. Makes sense too as it points towards Fairfax Castle, which is logically where the high-class area would be located. Also in this scene, if you look close enough right here in the center, there's a missing cat poster with Lena's face on it. Interesting. Oakfield next, or now officially renamed to Silverbrook. This is the oversized vegetable village where Dave lives. And we get a tiny walkthrough here too. But the stitch map we can make from this isn't really worth much yet. I'm still placing the Sandswine in this area due to previous trailer deductions, but the lack of Beanstalk does induce cracks of uncertainty. Perhaps the Balverine quest will get its own village altogether. although Silverbrook, having silver in the name, could be a play into the werewolf territory, and just like Silver Pines in Fable 3, that's the area where the Balverines are. But alas, we shall see. Our next decently sized new area is Briar Hill, revealed to be our home village. We jog through as a child before walking through as an adult. And luckily for us, the minimap is there for it all. Here's the fairly decent stitched up map of Briar Hill. Fantabulous. Feel free to screenshot for study purposes. The tavern in Briar Hill is called the Rose and Thorn, potentially a reference to Briar Rose from the original Fable, but more than likely a reference to this naturally occurring phenomenon. Beautiful, isn't it? Be careful when touching these, they are rather pointy. There's a shop with mannequins outside, hairstylist, clothing, plastic surgery, who knows? The odd part is every view we get of this mannequin shop has bare wooden mannequins outside, so it's genuinely unknown what they're used for. Now, do remember, everyone in Briar Hill is going to get turned to stone at the beginning of the game, an event henceforth known as the Stoning of Briar Hill. And oh no, what happens to all these other regions if half the world's 46 NPCs can't go to their workplace halfway across the country? Absolute chaos, I tell you. Bloodstone is back and in all its glory. Well, I hope it is. There isn't a soul present in the scene. For those of you who don't know, Bloodstone should be swimming in professionals of the night, fish connoisseurs, and scurvy-ridden scoundrels. Whilst it doesn't quite confirm any of that, it does ask the question of whether the area I previously referred to as Old Town could actually be here in Bloodstone. Again, we don't have enough for a solid conclusion, but the braziers, lighting, added explanation as to why the lawless are here, drunks kicking other drunks, basket of fish-shaped objects here, Bloodstone does fit this scene pretty well. But here's the thing. Around 6 months ago, this hero commented, stabbing at Bloodstone. At first I thought, well, yes, but why would one assume Bloodstone from what we've seen so far? It could easily be any of the franchise's rougher areas. So when Justin revealed Bloodstone here,
And the bleak, windswept city of Bloodstone.
I began to spiral into insanity. Did this hero really just pull Bloodstone out of the hat and hit the jackpot? 6 months ago, we didn't even know if Bowerstone was still actually called Bowerstone. Unless the concept art posted just before the Direct featured a lot of Bloodstone stuff. Are you connected somehow? Are you the concept artist, perhaps? Their
Fathers, brothers, nephews, cousins, former roommate.
whatever you are, I'll be watching your comments closely from now on, you sneaky chuffer. Looking at said concept art, we can see there's an arena, a cracker factory, and a large fish. The arena is particularly interesting, perhaps playground of combined Westcliff and the Crucible with Bloodstone this time around. They've switched the geography too. Bloodstone used to be in the south, but Justin very clearly says north. I'm not going to go too deep into these Bloodstone concepts because, well, they're concepts, which are very subject to change. However, I will say that if Bloodstone does look like this, I absolutely adore it. That is an entrance worthy of Bowerstone's evil twin. Justin mentions 2 rival clans. It's clear one of the clans are cracker dealers, which, logically speaking, makes the other cracker plundering pirates. The sinister cult of shadows sounds gloriously like the Temple of Shadows and the Shadow Court had a diabolical baby. I'm wondering if it's possible to sacrifice the remaining 23 living populants who weren't stoned in Briar Hill, resulting in the extinction of living populant kind. And finally, we have a few shots of what we'll call Wraith Marsh for now, thanks to its infestation of spookies. On top of that, there's other various, currently unidentifiable scenes. So, onto combat we go, and we'll mix this with newly confirmed enemies and weapons. Straight up, we get a new weapon type, the Rapier and Dagger Combo. Are these a set weapon type? Are they 2 separate weapons wielded in each hand? Notice how Ezio uses both to attack first, and then unleashes a flurry of rapier jabs depleting this bandit's guard bar. The last attack dodges backwards and actually deals damage to those in Ezio's dodge path. Interesting. Looks to me like we do 4 regular attacks first, before a flourish, similar to previous titles. It looks like Ezio charges for a second here, before starting his stabbing frenzy. A few more worthy mentions, and we'll get into magic later, don't worry. Look at the physics in this hair, people. It moves so much. Even the shorter hair has physics. Oh, I love that stuff. And then here, above our health bar, I wager these two thingamabobs are our health potions.
Health potions.
Same here, big jumping thrust into regular attacks. The moment the guard bar is broken, we're prompted to finish her! That also points to this being a flourish, because the prompt doesn't pop up as we're mid-button mashing. Weirdly enough, there's no blood here, but there is blood on all the other regular unarmored hits on other enemies. Dev Direct version, perhaps? Hair still flowing like Prince Charming, though. Seriously, I love it. Sneaky Playground yet again posted an extended part of this fight on their Instagram page, where this incapable archer must have given up trying to figure out how to shoot her arrow, and instead came for a sword fight. We dodge and 360 heavy her face with extreme levels of heroic flamboyance. This might be my favourite finisher so far. I just wish we'd seen it in full screen. Our 12-foot bandit friend is back again, and would you look at that, it's option 3, a posture system. We parry as usual and unleash blue highlighted heavy attacks to deal extra damage to both his bars. The background here is super cluttered. Look at all the littered bottles. Disgusting creatures these bandits are. More importantly, there's a chest, and to the right over here, the Lena portrait from Humphreys Halls is here too, but this time with quite a few arrows. If the mercs or bandits don't like her either, perhaps this means she's more of an anti-hero than straight-up villain. Maybe we can join her. A little more on that later too. Lastly for this part, the ledge here is rather mid in height, is it not? Too high to step up, too small to be a boundary. Have they just revealed we can jump and climb in a Fable game? We can vault again, it's all over the concept art, but jump, the ability to briefly levitate, to traverse micro levels higher than we are currently planted, unbelievable. Ignore everything I just said, the ledge means nothing.
Hobbs are back.
And this is basically the same fight we had before. A yellow exclamation point pops up just before we hit the first hob, perhaps as he's also trying to hit us as we're mid-hitting him. That's our last chance warning to parry and animation cancel. Turns out our attack is faster though, and we give it a good old hammer 1, 2, 3. We see friendly fire is enabled in Albion server, as this one hob takes out his mate, and we charge a heavy, one-bombing the treacherous little fiend. Points of interest here, 3 health potions this time, and the health bar itself is slightly larger. Also, an image on the Fable game website has this exact scene, but with our cover character instead. Hollow Folk next. This lantern head is a new one, officially named Lantern Keeper. I reckon it's a summoner type. The lantern light will probably make hollow men arise from beneath it, and so it's probably a good idea to target these first. They tactically split this next fight into 3 parts, changing the order to give the illusion of more content. I'm going to unsplit and order them correctly for a smoother experience. We begin with a basic hammer combo on this standard skelly type hollow man, before we switch to our AC-25 fully automatic crossbow and pap these fools over here. This armored hollow man is completely unfazed by our peppering of arrows. We find out we have the ability to bash whilst aiming down sights, and I love this weakness feature. Clearly bro has been skipping leg day, so let's remove those embarrassing little twigs for him, which of course knocks him prone and allows a finisher. I'm wondering if we leave him there, will his leg bones slowly reattach like spooky magnets, or will he be a crawler for the rest of the encounter? Notice, just like the bow from before, our arrows are spawned with a green magic effect, and they replenish over time. Moving on to yet another cockatrice fight, and it comes with confirmation that no, stagger is not limited to human enemies. Our second warning prompt can be seen here, and this time it's your standard big red dodge button. This attack is unblockable. It looks like Ezio's not only a rich twat, but a stingy egg thief too. But don't worry, chicken lovers. Seeing as we can't jump in Fable, the eggs atop these 2 mediocre in size tiered ledges are impossibly out of reach. What a pointless endeavor. So, what's the difference between the guard bar and the posture bar? Well, to my eye at least, smaller enemies will have a guard bar. Looks like a shield, right? Which is representative of their physical ability to keep their guard up. This bar will likely not replenish. The shield may come back to represent they can block again, but as they've already been broken once, the second time they guard it'll more than likely be a one-hit break. Once broken, they'll stagger for a few seconds and be open for a finishing move. If I'm right about that, With a little restraint, we should be able to set up a huge finisher chain by first breaking the guard bar of each surrounding foe. Something I'll be trying out immediately. The posture bar is slightly different in that it'll replenish if we don't keep up the aggro. We see it here when the cockatrice is staggered. This should make posture enemies more imposing if we don't focus them down, and make them an extra challenge when we're surrounded by enemies, a situation we haven't seen yet. Physically attacking whilst the guard bar is up does not chip away at health, as the enemy is literally physically blocking our attacks, whereas attacking only the posture bar does affect health because they're taking the hits and not guarding. Makes sense, right? Maybe there'll be boss enemies with both bars, whose posture bar won't be affected until we break their guard bar, vice versa. Nothing new after that, until here we go people, magic. Blades is back. Oh, this is my favorite spell. There's just something elevating about slinging summoned blades at those mongrels that opposed me. I loved seeing it here. Looks as if it's on a very short cooldown too, so maybe I can have just as much fun as I did mashing B in Fable 2. Playground are really going hard on the chicken thing, don't you think? The chicken spell seems completely balanced. Not only does it completely ignore the block bar, newly created chickens are a one-shot kill. And the cooldown on the spell is so quick, you could effectively turn your opponent into a chicken for the
Rest of your game. We call this idea
your opponents turn to chickens. And if all that wasn't enough, it seems to lock your targets into a silly game of charades after returning to their former selves. I'm very interested to see if it's possible to turn the cockatrice into a standard chicken, or, like Poison heals undead in certain other games, your opponent's turn to chickens increases the cockatrice's inner chicken power level, resulting in a super cocka-chicken transformation. But no, surely it doesn't work on large enemies, right, Playground? Right? Fireball or Inferno absolutely devastates this lad. This is also partially how I know it's a guard bar and not an armor bar. Armor would have taken damage from fire, but a physical block bar would not. For some reason, Inferno's cooldown is huge. If that's intended, it makes your opponent's turn to chickens even more terrifying. The last spell we directly see from the direct is Shock. This looks pretty strong too. Once more, the cooldown is short, and no charging seems to be required to unleash an AoE lightning storm. No other spells are directly shown, but we can make assumptions using the pretty little icons. In the RTY position here, we have a feather. I wager that being this spell from the Humphrey trailer, the one which levitates the hobs. For now, I'm going to call this one Featherweight. In the RTB position, we have what looks like a bunch of thorny vines. I'd guess a Thorn Prison type spell, which locks enemies in place and damages them slightly over time as they struggle to escape. RTA is your opponent's turn to chickens, and last for this scene in RTX, we have what looks like Force Push. Pretty self-explanatory. The fight with the Hollow Man shows Blades, Featherweight, Shock, and Inferno. In the Lantern Keeper encounter, we have Blades, Featherweight, and Inferno again, but this time RTA gives us a new portal-looking icon. Odds are it's a blink. Probably works somewhat like the directional cast of Time Control. This time around, these mechanics seem to be separated into their own spells, however, as finally here in the Hob scene, we have what looks like a pocket watch on RTB. No doubt that's the Time Control spell. I'm just hoping everything is purchasable. Literally everything.
Buying every house in Albion. Buying every business in Albion.
I hope very much that we can open all the doors, climb all the stairs, and look through all the windows. Features. Hard labor coming to you. Here we see blacksmithing. We move the fork with the left stick and strike with A. Simple. There's a slight shake to the fork, so I wonder if there's some random directional resistance that we'll need to fight against with the stick. We'll have a time limit this time, and likely earn higher amounts through a promotion system. I'm excited to learn more. The landlord system is shown. We get a few shots where we're buying various properties, and good lord, even Albion couldn't escape inflation. For context, Fairfax Castle used to cost 1 million gold. Now Toys R Us costs 850,000. Income is a lot higher in fairness. No wonder the commoners hate Ezio when they make 20 gold a tool versus his 58,500 gold passive income for simply looking like one. I do wonder how they'll balance this. In previous games, the income ticked every 5 real-time minutes. But surely with these numbers, Playground won't let me leave the game running whilst I do my IRL weekly shop, only to return to an absolute in-game fortune. That would also make grinding a job rather pointless once we own even a single market stall. The living population is one of the most exciting takeaways here. The sheer potential is quite frankly mind-boggling. If there really is 1,000 handcrafted NPCs, it raises a few questions, especially considering the sinister cult of shadows may or should be partial to the odd sacrifice. This is where my concern comes creeping in. Ralph confirmed in his interview that everyone truly is handcrafted, with unique dialogue and personalities. If each NPC and corresponding region has been tuned to perfection, that logically means there's a finite number of living populants. Could really be 1,000, maybe more, maybe less, who knows. Whatever that number is, I highly doubt we'll be able to add human to Albion's list of endangered species. It's also made very clear that morality is subjective, and morality is more than a black and white good or evil system.
There are lots of grey areas.
That's because your reputation is based on individual subjective populant opinions, which is why there's no morphing. All sounds rather spiffing until you think about it, because I don't know about you, but I'm fairly certain purging the population of Bowerstone would be considered a tad evil. From a developer standpoint too, I can't imagine some being too happy if the specific individual living populant they painstakingly crafted for half a decade was safety off vaporized in the first 5 seconds of a playthrough. Not to mention, if there's no living populants left to judge our characters subjectively, then there's no more playground morality system in the game at all. Long story short, I'm not entirely convinced the living population will be, let's say, expendable. All speculative of course, but Misa thinking it's a far more interesting concern than flamboyant hips. And for some, it's a genuine deal breaker. Justin does say,
although usually from a safe distance.
So maybe I'm just overthinking it. Anyway, we know each populant has their own bed, profession, and hobby within a feasible travel distance of whatever settlement they're registered to. Ralph even mentions an early dev issue where towns were empty because populants would start walking to work only for bedtime to trigger before they arrived, sending them straight back home. In other words, don't expect one populant to live in, let's say Silverbrook, whilst also village crying in Briar Hill. That would be crazy, right? The living population is quite literally the morality system in Playgrounds Albion, and it's region-based. When we enter a new area, those populants don't know us yet, and so we can essentially build an entirely new reputation. In other words, don't expect one populant to live in Briar Hill whilst gossiping about you to his customers in Butterfield Market. That would be crazy, right? Let's have a good old guess at what all these icons could be when directly interacting with populants. Let's start with Zara, and I'll tell you why very shortly. First is Browse Goods, which hopefully opens the shop inventory in list form. No more window shopping. Romance. Now, notice how Romance has a small arrow at the bottom of it. I reckon if you choose an arrowed icon, it'll bring up a new subset of icons within that one. In fact, seeing as there's no arrowed or mutual icons here with Rosamund, I strongly believe these icons are those we'll see after selecting the romance option. Furthermore, with Zara, Oliver, and Esther, we see the moment our character initiated the dialogue. With Rosamund, we're already deep into romancification. So, let's explore these romance sub-icons. Date. Dating's easy in Albion, simply escort your date through a hostile environment and share a kiss. Simple. Offer paradise. Given my audience demographic, I'm going to assume no further explanation is required. Landlord management likely handles all types of living managements, moving in together, renting out, eviction, all that stuff, though it only appears here under romance, so maybe it's more limited. Baby delivery service. I'm going to be slightly different here and say this is the adoption button. I just can't see why they'd have two separate buttons for the child-making process, when it's already a byproduct of the previous option. Rather bizarre, is it not? And finally, marriage. Back to Zara for the main icons. Business management. This is where we'll fire or hire a populant. We know this because the same icon is up here next to Zara's opinion mask. We apparently gave her an opportunity, and she calls us boss.
Follow.
To where, I wonder? Gift. Simple as. And finally, this odd-looking icon. No idea what this is visually, but let's take a guess at interact, sort of like our emote wheel. This might offer conversation options like praise, insult, joke, threaten, brag, etc. Oliver has the same set of 5, minus browse goods, of course, the filthy beggar, and Esther, the merchant here, only has 4 options. There's no business management, perhaps because she's already got a job and we don't own her shop. We see opinion masks with every living populant we pass or interact with, and so far there's 4 to take note of. Likes you, impartial of you, dislikes you, and fancies you. What's that? You absolutely adore icons? Go on then, lads, let's have some more. Going back to our fantastic stitch maps, there are quite a few minimap icons to stab at. An apple, both regular and sleeping. Sleeping probably indicates it's outside sales time. Now, the apple must simply indicate food, as the stall book reader's sister works at sells bread. For whatever reason, she's clearly present and there's plenty of bread on the shelves, yet the apple is sleeping. Could it have something to do with everyone hating Ezio? Refusal of sale, perhaps. We see a bookshop. A toy shop. This exact toy shop is Dartmoor's, the one Ezio buys here. A well? Wonder what that's for. This flower indicates a gift shop for dating purposes. The tavern icon is slightly cut off, but it's still there. A butcher's here in Upton Le Beans. I made the executive decision that this area was not big enough to be worth its own segment. A bandit hideout here, or perhaps it's just combat zone. Blacksmith. I particularly enjoy the location of the blacksmith in relation to the clock tower, once again with the Control-C, Control-V Fable 2 strategy. And signpost. Signpost, or a notice board, or whatever you call it, here. Choices.
Big choices, little choices, moral choices, and some choices that will actually change the landscape of Albion for the rest of your game. We call this idea
Trellbion's mogrification. He said all there is to be said, really. We got a slightly deeper look at the Dave quest. Here's to hoping the body decomposes over time, tying into my world progression prediction. To my grave dismay, almost 0 of these background screens offer any extra content. I first noticed this one has some NPC dialogue pop up, and I almost choked on my mystical coffee of insightfulness. TM, link in the description. Nice what now? Can you imagine if I'd just found out the canine companion was actually real from a background screen showing a random piece of populent spiel? I'd be in the history books. Unfortunately, after further analysis, I'm afraid to say it reads, nice day. Sorry chaps. Ralph then confirmed he is personally the villain who chose to axe the canine companion, and he's happy to take the blame. So sorry canine lovers, our equinoid dog will just have to do. The screens behind Connor here offer a slight look at our character inventory screen, and a player character with what looks like a small dagger on his back. This screen shows another nice big house that probably costs over $1 million gold, but the main screen of worth is this one showing a Balverine illustration open in Photoshop. The tab here reads, Book Illustration Balverine Kill. This likely ties into a quest journal system with updating art based on our choices. Perhaps there's also Book Illustration Balverine Save, or Cure variant too. The second tab is where things get interesting, and perhaps slightly spoilery. It reads, Book Illustration Epilogue Bowerstone Destroyed Aftermath. Oh dear, looks like something catastrophic might occur if we aren't careful. Maybe we can join Lena and destroy...
I'm going to fix it. This place.
Now, I threw a fair bit of shade in these DevDirect breakdown videos, especially towards the living population's uniqueness. But honestly, I do believe what Playground have said. They've done an absolutely remarkable job at showing us everything they wanted to, whilst somehow showing us nothing at all. These 46 living populants are proof of that. Because, let me get this straight, Parminder lives in Briar Hill, works in Bowerstone, takes walks to Silverbrook for a pint in the Sandswine, and exists in both our past and future completely unfazed by the stoning of Briar Hill? Absolutely not. The snippets we saw were captured in an extremely controlled environment built specifically for the Direct. That's exactly why all player characters share the same walk cycle. The character selector changes back to our cover character again without completing a full cycle. Most spells have instant cooldowns, except Inferno. This archer forgets how to archer. The flags atop Fairfax Castle forget to sway. Average ale drinker's tankard phases through the table. The guards and all these other unique living populants only appear on the background screens playing the actual game. Morality is subjective. except for objectively hating Ezio. There's no people in Bloodstone. This lady forgets to bleed. We managed to earn 531,170 gold in 37 seconds. Male option 1 has 531,200 gold. At least 4 children in Bowerminster is trying to romance a new woman, and still everyone only hates Ezio.
Scumbag!
And finally, the Bowerstone Tavern here with Rosamund is deathly silent. Playground are min-maxing, showing us the maximum amount of content and the minimum amount of actual game, so we can all experience higher levels of wonder and amazement upon release. We've only scratched the surface, I tell you. And so, there you have it. The Developer Direct, Developer Deep Dive, Deeper Dive, D to the power of 7. Overall, and keeping it short, I'm very happy with what we've seen so far, and I'm extremely excited for more. Honestly, I could have just taken their video, copied their script, done a humorous voiceover, slapped my overlay and Murgo on top, and called it a day. The breakdown was already there. They did a fantastic job. All aboard to June 7th. In the meantime, here's to hoping Fables socials start posting things other than Dev Direct regurgitations. Finally, for those still itching to know, 42 grapes are in view, therefore using this flawless formula, there are 63 grapes on Ralph's table. Thank you all for your patience. I hope this episode was worth the wait and ticked every box of expectation. Boundless gratitude to all heroes who watch, like, subscribe and more. We've 537 guild members now.
Truly wondrous.
And a special cheer for our legendary supporting coffee heroes.
Hooray! Whoa, yeah!
Fantastic. Well, that's enough from me. I'll see you in the next one.